A culture determines a language, and a language determines a culture. You were confused while looking at these images. Yes, each letter is an image. Until you got used to the image, you could understand the words. The language of the Creator is an image language. What he spoke became an image. We can see creation. For Name Yahuwah to prove that he is the Creator, he would have to put his image into creation. An image is just a reflection of the original. But by putting his image into creation, he is proving that he is the Creator. We know the Creator as Father, Son, set apart Spirit. His image is three. Three as in one, as in Echad. Echad, like a three-quartered rope. We find that image of three in the smallest part of the third dimension. It's an atom. Of neutrons, protons, electrons. The third dimension, the universe, is made up of time, space, and matter. Spaces made up of the first, second, and third heaven. Mankind made up of body, soul, spirit. Water is made up of H2O. Fire is ignition, fuel, and oxygen. And we can carry on and see that the image of the Creator, Elohim Yahuwah, is in creation. When you mess around with the image, you then take out the Creator. And this happened at the time of the birth of confusion. That was with Babel at the time of the Tower of Babel, when confusion came into the world. Change the image of the language and you cause confusion and deception. We are going to look at what language is the language of the Creator who created the universe. The birth of falsehood was started by Babel. At the time of the Tower of Babel, confusion was sown amongst mankind. Because these rebellious people are serving foreign mighty ones, Elohim scatters them all around the earth, and he confuses their language. So this is a challenge and a test for them to turn back to him. And we find that in their culture and in their language, we will see those that turn back to him and those that serve the foreign mighty one. Because you can see this in the images of their language. Let's have a look at some of those languages. The Egyptian language retained some of the ancient language, but added some of their own images. Most of the languages added their pagan gods as the letters of their language. In the Greek language, each letter would represent more than one of their pagan gods. Many people disagree of how many languages there are and what influence each language had on the other. There's three things that I can guarantee you. One is that all the languages came from the ancient pictograph language. 2. The Hebrew language is the only language that esteems the Creator Elohim Yahuwah. And 3. All of the other languages have been influenced by their pagan gods. To prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the Hebrew language is the DNA of creation, we have to prove that the Hebrew language lines up with the creation language. Now that's the language of the images. The other thing is, we have to see the image of Elohim Yahuwah in the Hebrew language. Now we know that there are 22 images or letters in the ancient language. And so are there in the Hebrew language. So we're already on track. And all the other languages that have got more or less images than the 22 images is the language of confusion. It is not the language of creation. Let's have a look at that Hebrew language. The chemical language would be, in this case, NPE, which stands for neutrons, protons, and electrons. The English language would refer to this as an atom, which is the DNA of matter. The word bara means created, which comes from the root word orth, which means image, which is a sign, literally or figuratively, evidence, mark, or miracle. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim, and the Word became flesh. So once again, we've got the image of Elohim, Him, the Word, and creation. Take one of those out, and you wouldn't have the universe. So His image is in His language. In the written and in the spoken word of Hebrew, we have the image of Elohim Yahuwah. So the word connects creation to Elohim. Without the word, no creation. So the image, as in of, also means creation. He created His own image in the whole of creation. ATH is the Hebrew letters Aleph, Tav, and Het. Each one of these letters have many meanings to them. But we are going to be looking at those words pertaining to creation. The letter Aleph means in the beginning, mighty one, power, and word. The Tav means all four directions, which is the earth or matter, and completion. The Het means light, illuminate, stars, to reveal. The Aleph and the Tav means, behold, the words of Elohim Yahuwah has the power to create the universe. When looking at the Aleph, Tav, and Het, we see that the Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and the Tav is the last letter of the alphabet, which means that everything in between has to do with creation. So all of the words of the Hebrew alphabet has got to do with creation. The Het stands for behold. When we look at the word orth in terms of the Hebrew alphabet, it means behold. The Hebrew words of Elohim Yahuwah has the power to create the universe. The word abracadabra is a Hebrew word which means, behold, the power of my words create. The images and the breath of the Hebrew languages created the universe and brought life into being. You're not convinced yet? We're only scraping the surface of the Hebrew language. So let's go have a look at some images. To seek out an image is to find out what is the true meaning of that image. So we're going to look at letters, which are images, to determine what is the image of those letters. So we'll look at the name of Yahuwah. Do you see the image in the name of Yahuwah? Oh, you don't? Oh, let's move the letters around a bit. Do you see the image in the name Yahuwah now? Well, if you don't, let me help you. The Yod means a head. The Vav means a man. So this image means that mankind is made in the image of Elohim, and Elohim is the head of mankind. So we do have the image of Elohim Yahuwah in the written words of Hebrew. But do we have that image in the spoken words of Hebrew? And yes, we do. Most of the words in Hebrew is made up of 3 consonants. A consonant is a breath. So when we look at the name Yahuwah, it's made up of 3 breaths. Yahuwah. The meaning of the name Yahuwah means I exist, which means life. If we look at the root words for Yahuwah, it also means breath, also means life. So if you look at the image of Elohim Yahuwah in creation, all of the 3s in a man's body, oxygen, water, fire, and you take out one of that image, you take out one of the breaths, which means life will not exist without the image of Elohim Yahuwah being in creation. To seek out the truth in the image, the only language you can use is Hebrew. So irrespective of what your language is, you can use the Hebrew language and find out the truth in an image. Let's start in the beginning. The first word in Scripture is in. In the ancient Hebrew language, it's a be or a beit, which also means in. The ancient language image, which also means in, reveals something more deeper for us, which is a 10th floor design. When we look at the 10th floor design, we will see that tent means man, floor is dust, and the design is wool. So in the very first image of the scriptures, we discover that Elohim Yahuwah is saying that his will for mankind is to live within them. The 10th door means man, life, or death. The 10th peg or nail means man and hook. The 10th wall means man, set apart, or separation. Looking at all the images that are related to a tent, we discover that the Creator Elohim Yahuwah is showing his intent for why he created the 3rd dimension. His design or his will was to live in mankind. But he knew that mankind was going to sin and death would be coming to creation. And he had a plan for himself to come as a man and be nailed to a tree to save and redeem mankind, so that mankind is not separated from him, but will be set apart to him, and that he will live in mankind. So he came as the man who's represented by a hook. So the man, Yahusha, is the hook between mankind and Elohim Yahuwah. And that's what the images of the Trinity is telling us. So Yahusha HaMashiach is the one that is the hook between mankind and Elohim Yahuwah. But if we are supposed to be like him, aren't we supposed to be as a hook as well? To be in right standing with Elohim Yahuwah, we are required to have a righteous heart. Through writing the commands of the Torah on our heart. To love Elohim Yahuwah and others, we are required to draw out those commands pertaining to Elohim Yahuwah and those pertaining to others and give it to them, because love means I give. The right arm represents the first greatest command. The right hand represents the first 5 of the 10 commands. These are the spiritual commands on how to love Elohim Yahuwah. The left arm is the second greatest command. The left hand is the second 5 of the 10 commands. These are the natural or human commands. The rest of the commands in your heart is the relevant commands of the 613 commands. Here we have the letter Alif, which means mighty one, as in Yahuwah, the mighty one. Do you see the image in this letter? The Alif is made up of a tav, which represents a man. It's normally vertical, but now it's at an angle to represent a humble, worshipping man. The Aleph also has 2 yods, and the yod represents Yahuwah, behold, and work. The work that is referred to here is the doing of the Torah, and that is the love of I give. The image of the Aleph represents the righteous man, who becomes more and more like Elohim Yahuwah by loving Yahuwah and others. By becoming more like Elohim Yahuwah, you'd be able to say, when you see me, you see my Father. If you don't transliterate from the images of the ancient language or the Hebrew language into your current language, you will never ever find out the truth about Elohim Yahuwah. Transliteration is to make sure that the image, the letter of your language, is one and the same, so that you do have the truth in front of you. So we're going to have a look on how you can take the images, the letters of your language, and line it up with the images of Elohim Yahuwah's language to find out the truth about him. To demonstrate transliteration, we're going to look at the name Yah. It's YH in Hebrew. To make it pronounceable, we're going to add the A. And if you look at the images of YAH, we will get Behold, Mighty One, Set Apart. So the transliteration of the images would mean, Behold Yah, the Mighty One who is set apart. So the images tell you exactly the meaning of the letters YH. If we look at how other languages have added or taken away the letters that should be in for Yah, they would use JEH. But J and E is not an image from the ancient language. So we're left with H, which means separation. We find the same thing in YEH. The E is not part of the ancient language. Then we're left with Behold, separation. Using the JES instead of Yah, we have to take out the J and the E. We are left with the S, which means destruction. But when you don't use the correct images or correct letters from the ancient language and the ancient Hebrew language, you'll find yourself to be separated from the Yah, and you would be under destruction. You can go look at any other language, and you won't find Name Yahuwah in it. So if you want to seek the kingdom, you will have to seek Name Yahuwah in the Hebrew language. Shalom.